The first time Claire Whitman called me her fiancé, she was barefoot in my kitchen, wearing one of my old college sweatshirts, holding a mug of coffee like it was evidence in a murder trial. Just for one weekend, she said. I stared at her over the half-built cabinet door on my workbench. That's how people end up on daytime court shows. I'm serious, Marcus. I can tell. You only use my full name when you're about to ruin my peace. For the record, I'm Marcus Ellis, 32 years old, and I make custom furniture for people who have strong opinions about walnut grain. My life had become predictable in a way I claimed to enjoy. Coffee by 6, shop by 7. Dinner alone unless my brother guilted me into wings. No surprises, no drama, and absolutely no more Whitman family events. That last rule existed because 3 years earlier, I had dated Claire's older sister, Lauren. Lauren was beautiful, charming, and so allergic to honesty that I used to joke she should carry an EpiPen for direct questions. We lasted 11 months. The breakup was polite on the surface and humiliating underneath. She told everyone we wanted different things, which was a graceful way of saying she wanted a man with a bigger bank account and a smaller backbone. The only good thing I kept from that relationship was Claire. Not kept exactly, that sounds suspicious. Claire had been around during those months in the way younger sisters orbit family chaos. She was sharp, dry, a little guarded, and always reading the room like she didn't trust it not to collapse. After Lauren and I ended, Claire and I somehow became friends. Real friends. The kind who texted at midnight about broken garbage disposals, bad dates, and whether buying an air fryer counted as emotional growth. She was 30, a graphic designer, and the only woman I knew who could insult your taste in throw pillows and still make you feel seen. So when she showed up at my house on a Thursday morning with mascara under one eye and panic tucked behind her smile, I didn't ask why she had a garment bag in her car. I should have. My cousin's wedding is this weekend, she said. I remember. You threatened to fake the flu. I tried. Mom said she'd come over with soup and a thermometer. Rookie mistake. You should have said rash. Claire gave me a look. My ex is going to be there. That took the humor out of my hands. Evan? I asked. She nodded once. I had only met Evan Shaw twice. Both times he had smiled like a man posing for a yacht brochure and talked to Claire like she was an assistant who had misplaced his calendar. They had been engaged for 6 months before he left her for someone from his firm, then somehow convinced half her family that Claire was too intense. Too intense, in my experience, meant she noticed things men didn't want noticed. RSVP'd with his new girlfriend, Claire said, and Mom has been acting like this is my chance to show everyone I'm fine. Are you? She lifted her mug. I'm drinking coffee in a man's kitchen at 7:30 in the morning, asking him to commit light fraud. What do you think? I should have said no. A smart man would have said, Claire, I care about you, but pretending to be your fiancé at a family wedding, where my ex-girlfriend will also be present, sounds like the kind of emotional obstacle course insurance doesn't cover. Instead, I noticed the way the sleeve of my sweatshirt covered half her hand. I noticed she had curled her toes against the cold floor because she always forgot my kitchen ran chilly. I noticed she looked embarrassed and somehow brave, and entirely too lovely for a woman asking me to walk into a social fire wearing a gasoline tie. Why fiancé? I asked. Her eyes flicked down. That was when I knew. Claire. My mom may have misunderstood a few things. Misunderstood? I said I was seeing someone? You're not. I know that. And she converted that into engaged? Claire winced. There may have been a ring emoji. I set the cabinet door down. She rushed on. It was one text months ago after Evan got engaged to Miss Corporate Pilates. Mom kept pushing me to bring someone to family dinner, and I panicked. I said I was seeing someone serious. She asked how serious. I sent a ring emoji as sarcasm. Vivian Whitman does not understand sarcasm. I'm aware of that. Now. I rubbed a hand over my face. And why me? She opened her mouth, then closed it. That was the first moment that morning when the air changed. Claire was good at jokes, great at deflection. If emotions were a locked door, she usually stood outside it, making fun of the wallpaper. But then she looked at me like she had decided to stop pretending. Because you're kind, she said quietly, but not soft. Because you know my family and won't be shocked when Aunt Marcy says something illegal after 2 Chardonnays. Because Evan always acted like I was difficult, and you never made me feel like I had to shrink myself to be tolerable. I didn't have an immediate comeback for that. She seemed to realize what she'd said and cleared her throat. Also, you own a suit. One suit? One very responsible suit. It still has your sister's Christmas party trauma in the seams. Claire's mouth twitched. Then it'll blend in. I wanted to say yes too quickly, which was exactly why I hesitated. Because the truth was, somewhere between fixing her leaky faucet last spring and watching her fall asleep on my couch during a terrible documentary about competitive birdwatching, Claire had stopped being just my ex's sister. She had become the person whose name lit up my phone and made a bad day loosen its grip. And that was dangerous. Not because of Lauren, not really. Because Claire mattered. Fake dating someone you secretly wanted to hold for real was not a favor. It was a loaded weapon with place cards. What does this involve? I asked. Her shoulders dropped a fraction. Drive up today, rehearsal dinner tonight, wedding tomorrow, brunch Sunday, smile. Hold my hand occasionally, pretend you proposed in a way that doesn't make my mother ask follow-up questions. I build furniture. I can invent a proposal with decent structure. No grand speeches. Noted. No kissing unless absolutely necessary. I raised an eyebrow. Define necessary. Color rose in her cheeks, and I enjoyed that more than I should have. Public emergencies, she said. Like CPR. Like if Evan starts smirking. That's a low bar. Exactly why I'm setting boundaries. I leaned back against the counter. And Lauren? Claire's expression softened with apology. She'll be there. Of course she will. You don't have to do this. That was the problem. She meant it. She was already backing away from her own ask because she hated needing anyone. I took the mug from her hand and set it on the counter. Our fingers brushed. It was barely anything, the kind of contact adults pretend not to notice. But Claire went still. And so did I. For half a second, the kitchen felt smaller. You're not asking me to jump into traffic, I said. You're asking me to attend a wedding and lie to wealthy relatives with suspiciously white teeth. You hate weddings. I hate line dancing. You hate small talk. I'll survive. You hate my sister. I dislike her with discipline. Claire laughed, and there it was. The sound that always got under my ribs before I could defend myself. I should have stepped back. Instead, I said, I'll do it. Her smile disappeared first, like she didn't trust good news. Marcus. One weekend, I said. Fake fiancé, responsible suit. No kissing unless there's a smirk-related emergency. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she reached forward and adjusted the collar of my t-shirt, even though there was nothing wrong with it. It was an intimate little gesture. Too familiar to be casual, too gentle to be a joke. Thank you, she said. You're welcome. And for what it's worth, her fingers lingered near my shoulder. If I had to invent a fiancé, I could do worse. I smiled. Put that in the vows. We left 2 hours later in my truck, her garment bag hooked behind the seat, my responsible suit lying flat across the back like it was being transported to trial. The drive to the coastal hotel took 3 hours, most of it filled with her, briefing me on family politics. Uncle Rob thinks he's a wine expert, she said. He is not. Noted. My grandmother will ask about children. We'll say we're focusing on our careers. She'll hate that. We'll say we're practicing. Claire choked on her iced tea. Do not say that to my grandmother. You said we needed to be convincing. She tried to glare, but she was smiling out the window, and the late afternoon sun caught the gold in her hair. I had to force my eyes back to the road. By the time we pulled under the white portico of the Seabrook Inn, I had almost convinced myself this could be simple. Then Vivian Whitman appeared in the lobby like a silk-wrapped weather event. "Claire!" she cried. She swept her daughter into a hug, then turned to me with eyes already shining. "Marcus Ellis," she said. "I always knew we'd see you again." That sentence had too many possible meanings, none of them safe. Claire slipped her hand into mine. It was supposed to be pretend. It did not feel pretend. Vivian looked down at our joined hands, then pressed both palms to her chest. "Oh, you two. I'm just so happy." Claire squeezed my fingers once, a silent apology. I squeezed back, a silent, "I've got you." Vivian handed us a cream-colored key envelope. "Now, I hope you don't mind, but the hotel was nearly full with the wedding blocks, so I made sure you had one of the nicer rooms." Claire froze. I felt it before I understood it. "Mom," she said carefully. "What room?" "The garden suite," Vivian said. "It's perfect for an engaged couple. Romantic but tasteful." I opened the envelope. One key card. One room number. Claire leaned close enough that her shoulder pressed against my arm, close enough for me to smell her shampoo and nerves. "Mom," she whispered, "please tell me there are two beds?" Vivian smiled like we had said something adorable. "Oh, sweetheart," she said. "Of course not." Claire did not scream. I respected that about her. She simply smiled at her mother with the serene expression of a woman mentally setting fire to a hotel. "Wonderful," Claire said. Vivian beamed. "I knew you'd think so." The garden suite was at the end of a quiet hallway which gave Claire exactly 47 steps to whisper threats. "I'm going to fake my death. Messy. I'll join a monastery. Do they take graphic designers? I'll haunt this hotel. Useful. You can make sure future fake fiancés get two beds." She stopped outside the room and turned on me. "You're enjoying this." "I'm coping with humor." "You're smiling." "Internally panicking with dimples." That got the corner of her mouth to twitch, which felt like a personal victory. Then I opened the door. The suite was gorgeous. Cream walls, ocean blue curtains, a small balcony overlooking a garden strung with lights. There was a fireplace, a little sofa, champagne chilling in a silver bucket, and one enormous bed covered in white linens and rose petals. Claire stared at it. I stared at it. The bed, smugly, stared back. "Romantic but tasteful," I said. Claire walked over, picked up a rose petal, and held it like forensic evidence. "My mother is a criminal." I set our bags down. "I'll take the sofa." She glanced at it. The sofa was decorative. Designed for one fancy child or three throw pillows, not a 6'2" adult man. "You will not." "Claire." "No, you're doing me a favor. I'm not making you fold yourself onto that thing like a camping chair. I've slept in worse places, and I've made worse decisions, but I'm trying to grow." I looked at the bed again, then at her. She lifted a finger. "Do not make this weird." "I wasn't." "You were thinking." "I do that sometimes." "Stop." I laughed, and she rolled her eyes, but the blush at her throat told the truth. She was thinking too. We negotiated like diplomats. Pillows down the middle, separate blankets, bathroom schedule. No accidental cuddling unless caused by an act of God or poor mattress engineering. By the time we changed for the rehearsal dinner, I had repeated the word fake in my head so often it no longer sounded like English. Then Claire stepped out of the bathroom. Her dress was deep green, simple and soft, hitting just below her knees. Her hair was pinned up with a few loose strands brushing her jaw. She wore small gold earrings and lipstick the color of cherries after rain. "I forgot how to be normal." She looked down at herself. "Too much?" "No." Her eyes flicked to mine. I cleared my throat. "You look beautiful." "There, plain, dangerous. True." The teasing left her face. "Oh, she," said softly. "Thank you." I wanted to cross the room. Instead, I adjusted my cuff like it required all my concentration. "You clean up okay too," she added. "Okay?" Very respectable. Like a man who pays taxes and knows where the emergency exits are. That's my brand. She came close, close enough to straighten my tie. This time, I knew there was nothing wrong with it. Her fingers moved slowly anyway. We need a proposal story, she said. Right now? If Aunt Marcy asks and we hesitate, she'll smell blood. Fine, I proposed in my workshop. Claire glanced up. Did you? Made you a jewelry box. Ring was inside. Her fingers stilled on my tie. That's actually… She swallowed. That's good. I'm a craftsman. We commit to the bit. What kind of wood? Cherry, obviously. Obviously? Warm, stubborn. Looks better with time. Her gaze held mine and the room went quiet around us. That better not be a metaphor for me, she murmured. It can be if you like it. And if I don't, I'll claim artistic intent. She smiled, but it was softer than before. Her hand rested flat against my chest for 1 second too long, and my heartbeat had the audacity to announce itself beneath her palm. Claire felt it. I knew she did. Then she stepped back. We should go before I lose my nerve. I offered my arm. Fiancé. She slid her hand into the crook of my elbow. Temporary fiancé. We'll workshop the title. The rehearsal dinner took place in a private room overlooking the water. It was all candlelight, clinking glasses, and relatives pretending not to stare at us. Lauren saw me first. She wore silver in surprise. Her smile sharpened when her eyes moved from my face to Claire's hand tucked possessively around my arm. Marcus, she said. Wow, this is unexpected. Lauren. Claire leaned into me, not dramatically, just enough. Isn't it? She said. Life's funny. Lauren's gaze narrowed for half a second, then she kissed the air near Claire's cheek. I had no idea you two were together. We kept it private, Claire said. I covered her hand with mine. Best things usually are. Claire's fingers tightened. Lauren looked at that. I shouldn't have enjoyed it, but I did. Not because of Lauren, because Claire's hand fit under mine like it had been waiting there. Then Evan appeared with his girlfriend, a sleek brunette named Sloane, who seemed perfectly nice and completely unaware she was standing beside a man made of polished red flags. Claire, Evan said, smiling. Congratulations, engagement, big step. His gaze slid to me, assessing, dismissing. I felt Claire tense. Before I could do anything heroic and stupid, she lifted her chin. It is. But Marcus is very brave. Or reckless, I said. She looked up at me, eyes bright. Both, probably. Evan gave a short laugh. Well, you always did like complicated projects. I waited for Claire to shrink. She didn't. She turned into me, brushed lint from my lapel that wasn't there, and said, Actually, this one feels easy. That did something to me. Not fake, not careful. Something low and warm, right behind my ribs. Dinner put us between her grandmother and Uncle Rob, who explained wine by saying things like oaky thunder. Claire kept pressing her knee against mine under the table every time he invented a new phrase. By dessert, the fake engagement had become a performance we were almost enjoying. So how did he ask? Aunt Marcy demanded, leaning forward. Claire looked at me. I looked back. For once, we didn't panic. He made me something, she said. A ring box, I added. In his workshop, she continued. I thought he was showing me a cabinet. Technically, I was. Claire smiled into her wineglass. He handed me this little cherrywood box, and inside was the ring. What did he say? Her grandmother asked. I should have tossed out something generic. Instead, I looked at Claire and told a truth wearing a costume. I said I love the way she sees things other people miss, I said. That she makes every room sharper and brighter. And that if she'd have me, I'd spend my life trying to be someone she could trust with the soft parts. The table went quiet. Claire stopped breathing, so did I. Her eyes shone, startled and open in a way I had never seen. For one terrifying second, I thought I had gone too far. Then she reached for my hand on the table and laced our fingers together. He also cried, she said, voice slightly uneven. I coughed. I did not. A little. One dignified tear. A river. Everyone laughed, and the moment folded back into safety, but Claire didn't let go of my hand. Not through coffee, not when Vivian dabbed at her eyes, not even when Evan watched us from across the table with a frown he couldn't quite hide. Later, outside on the terrace, the air smelled like salt and jasmine. Music drifted through the open doors. Claire stood beside me at the railing, our shoulders nearly touching. You improvised, she said. I did. That was dangerous. I know. She looked at me. How much of it? I could have lied. The whole weekend depended on lies after all. But the candlelight had softened her face and the ocean was making that steady hush against the dark. And I was tired of pretending to myself, even if we were pretending to everyone else. More than I planned, I said. Claire's lips parted. Before she could answer, music swelled from inside. Something slow and old-fashioned. I held out my hand. Dance with me? There's no one out here. I know. Her eyes searched mine. Then she placed her hand in mine. We danced badly, barely moving on the empty terrace. One of my hands settled at her waist. Hers rested on my shoulder. The space between us narrowed until I could feel the warmth of her through the thin fabric of her dress. This is not necessary for the act, she whispered. No. Then why? I looked down at her, at the guarded woman who had asked me for a favor and somehow handed me my own heart like a dare. Because I wanted to. Her breath caught. For one suspended second, I thought she might step away. Instead, Claire moved closer, her forehead nearly brushing my jaw. Good, she said. I wanted you to want to. I closed my eyes for half a beat because that was a sentence a man could build foolish hopes on. Then her phone buzzed. She ignored it. It buzzed again. With a reluctant sigh, she pulled back and checked the screen. Her expression changed. What is it? I asked. She turned the phone toward me. A text from Vivian. Don't stay out too late, lovebirds. Hair and makeup starts early. Also, Lauren wants to have breakfast with you both tomorrow. Isn't that nice? Claire groaned. I'd rather eat glass. I took her hand again before the night could harden around us. Tomorrow can be complicated, I said. Tonight, we're still dancing. She looked at our joined hands, then back at me, and smiled. Then don't step on my feet, temporary fiancé. The pillow wall lasted 11 minutes. Not because either of us did anything scandalous, because Claire took one look at the neat barrier I'd built down the center of the bed and said, That is the saddest fort I've ever seen. It's a boundary structure. It's 2 pillows and fear. High-quality fear. She stood at the foot of the bed in soft shorts and an oversized t-shirt, hair loose around her shoulders, face scrubbed clean. Somehow she looked more dangerous than she had in the green dress. I kept my eyes on the decorative lamp. The lamp had never asked me to fake marry it. Claire climbed under her blanket on the left side. I took the right, lying on my back with the rigid dignity of a corpse at a viewing. After a minute, she whispered, Marcus. Yes. Are you breathing like that on purpose? Like what? Like you're defusing a bomb. I'm trying to be respectful. A pause, then softer. I know. Those 2 words undid me more than flirting would have. The room was dark except for a strip of moonlight across the foot of the bed. Beyond the balcony doors, the garden lights glowed faintly. I could hear Claire shift, then stop. Can I ask you something? She said. Always. Did it bother you, seeing Lauren? I stared at the ceiling. Less than I expected. That's not a no. It bothered me that she looked at you like you'd taken something from her. Claire gave a small, humorless laugh. Lauren believes people are available for taking. I turned my head. Her face was shadowed, but I could make out the curve of her cheek, the dark fan of her lashes. She hurt you too, I said. Claire was quiet so long I thought she wouldn't answer. When we were kids, she was the sun, she said finally. Everyone moved around her. I learned to be useful, funny, low maintenance. If I needed less, nobody could accuse me of wanting too much. My chest tightened. And Evan? I asked. He liked that at first. Then he hated me for it. Said I was impossible to read. She rolled onto her back. I think he meant I stopped handing him instructions for how to love me. The urge to reach for her was almost physical. You're not hard to love, Claire. She turned her head toward me. The words had crossed a line. I knew it. She knew it. I could have corrected myself, made it broad, friendly, harmless. I didn't. Her voice came out thin. You shouldn't say things like that while we're sharing a bed. Probably not, especially when I'm emotionally compromised by rose petals. Those petals were aggressive. A laugh escaped her, shaky and sweet. Then her hand appeared over the pillow wall, palm up. My heart knocked once, hard. I slid my hand into hers. We lay there in the dark, not touching anywhere else, fingers linked between two pillows and every reason we shouldn't. Eventually, Claire whispered, "This part doesn't feel fake." "No," I said. "It doesn't." Neither of us slept much. By morning, the pillow wall had migrated to the floor and Claire was curled toward me, her hand tucked against my chest like it had found its way there without permission. I was on my side facing her, one arm carefully above my head, as if that made me innocent. Her eyes opened. For 3 seconds, neither of us moved. Then she looked at her hand on me. I was cold, of course, and unconscious. Dangerous combination. She didn't pull away. Instead, her thumb moved once over the cotton of my t-shirt, right above my heart. The smallness of it nearly killed me. A knock sounded at the door. Claire jerked back. "If that's my mother, I'm climbing off the balcony." "We're on the 3rd floor. I'll tuck and roll." I opened the door to find a room service cart and a note from Vivian. Breakfast with Lauren moved to the garden patio. 10 minutes. Wear something cute, both of you. Claire read it over my shoulder. She added both of you because she thinks your current outfit lacks whimsy. My current outfit is pants. Bare minimum, fiancé. The garden patio looked like a lifestyle magazine had exploded. White umbrellas, tiny pastries, flower arrangements no one needed. Lauren sat alone at a table for 4, sunglasses on, phone beside her. Her smile appeared when we approached. "Look at you two," she said. "Coordinated." Claire glanced at my blue shirt and her blue sundress. "Accidental. We're not that unbearable yet." I pulled out Claire's chair. She looked up at me with a secret little smile, and for a moment it didn't matter who was watching. Lauren noticed anyway. "So," she said after coffee arrived, "how did this happen?" "Slowly," Claire said. "Really? Because last I heard, Marcus was still recovering from me." I set down my cup. Claire's hand landed on my knee under the table, not panicked this time. Warning me. Choosing the field herself. "Were you?" she asked me lightly. I looked at Lauren, then at Claire. "No," I said. I was relieved longer than I was heartbroken. Lauren's mouth tightened. Claire's fingers squeezed my knee, and I covered her hand with mine under the table. Lauren leaned back. "Well, honest as ever." "I try." "And you're okay with this?" she asked Claire. "Dating someone I dated?" Claire's smile thinned. "You dated him. You didn't brand him." A startled laugh burst out of me before I could stop it. Lauren removed her sunglasses. "I'm only asking because family will talk." "They already talk," Claire said. "At least now they'll have better material." There she was, sharp, bright, not shrinking. I wanted to kiss her right there over the croissants. Instead, I lifted her hand from under the table and kissed her knuckles. Claire went still. Lauren went silent. I had meant it as performance. Maybe. But Claire's eyes softened in a way that made the patio, the flowers, the whole complicated family circus blur around the edges. Breakfast ended shortly after that. As soon as we escaped to a narrow path, behind the hedges, Claire stopped walking. "You kissed my hand?" she said. "I did." "For Lauren." "Partly." Her gaze sharpened. Marcus. I took a breath. I liked doing it. The breeze moved through the hedges. Somewhere nearby, staff clattered dishes and wedding guests laughed, but she and I might as well have been alone on an island. Claire stepped closer. You keep saying real things in fake moments. I know. That's unfair. I know that too. Are you trying to confuse me? No. I swallowed. I'm trying very hard not to. Her expression shifted then, less accusation, more fear. What happened Sunday? She asked. The honest answer was waiting like a cliff. I reached up slowly, giving her time to step away, and brushed a loose strand of hair from her cheek. She didn't move. Her eyes fluttered once, then fixed on mine. Sunday we stopped lying to them, I said. But I don't want to go back to lying to myself. Her lips parted. About what? She whispered. I smiled faintly. You know what? I want you to say it. There was the challenge in her, the bravery, the hand reaching through the dark again. I want you, I said. Not because of Lauren, not because of Evan, not because of this weekend. I want you when you're insulting hotel decor and when you're pretending you don't need anyone and when you look at me like you're afraid I might actually stay. Her breath caught hard enough for me to hear. Then she rose on her toes and kissed me. It was not a smirk-related emergency. It was slow, warm, and deliberate. Her hand slid to my shoulders. Mine settled at her waist, pulling her in only when she leaned closer first. She tasted like coffee and nerves, and something I had wanted for too long to name. When she drew back, her eyes were bright. I wanted to do that last night, she said, during Uncle Rob's Okie Thunder speech. Especially then. I laughed against her forehead, and she tucked herself into me for one stolen second. Then her phone buzzed. She groaned. If my mother has scheduled a fertility consultation, I'm leaving the country. But the message wasn't from Vivian. Claire read it, and her face drained. What? I asked. She turned the screen toward me. Evan, we should talk before the ceremony. Privately, you owe me that much. I felt anger rise, fast and useless. Claire looked up before I could say anything. Don't do the protective jaw thing. I don't have a protective jaw thing. You absolutely do. She slipped her hand into mine, and I don't owe him anything. Damn right. But I might talk to him anyway, she said. Not because he deserves it. Because I want to be done flinching. I studied her face. Then I'll be nearby if you want me. She smiled, small but real. I want you nearby even when I don't need rescuing. That was better than trust. That was a choice. I kissed her once more, soft and brief, because she had asked me to say things out loud and I was learning. Then nearby's where I'll be, I said. Claire met Evan beside the hotel's side garden where the hedges were tall enough to pretend privacy existed. I waited near the fountain, close enough to be useful, far enough not to insult her courage. She had changed into her bridesmaid dress for the ceremony, pale blue silk that made her look like some expensive dream I had no business touching. Her hair was swept back, her shoulders bare, her posture straight. Evan, in a navy suit and practiced regret, looked like he had rehearsed in a mirror. I couldn't hear every word. I heard enough. I just think this is sudden, he said. Claire folded her arms. You texted me privately before my cousin's wedding to comment on my timeline? I'm worried about you. No, you're curious about whether I'm still available to be affected by you. My mouth twitched despite myself. Evan glanced toward me. With him? Come on, Claire. She looked over too. Our eyes met. I didn't move. Didn't rescue. Didn't perform. I just stood there and let her see me seeing her. When she turned back to Evan, her voice was calm. Yes, with him. You expect me to believe you're in love with your sister's ex? Claire's chin lifted. I don't expect you to believe anything. That's the nice thing about not belonging to you anymore. Evan's face changed. Not dramatically. Just enough to show the polished finish cracking. You used to be less cold, he said. No, she replied. I used to be more hopeful you'd become kind. That one landed. Evan said something too low for me to catch. Claire listened, then shook her head once. I don't wish you badly, she said, but I don't miss you, and I'm not confused because you're uncomfortable. Then she walked away. Not fast, not shaking. Toward me. I swear I had never seen anything sexier than that woman choosing her own exit. When she reached me, I offered my hand. She took it. Nearby enough? I asked. Perfectly. You were terrifying. I was concise. Devastating combination. Her mouth curved, but her hand trembled in mine. I drew her behind the bend of the walkway, hidden from the main lawn by a wall of climbing roses. Only then did she exhale. I thought I'd feel triumphant, she admitted. Mostly I feel like I need a nap and possibly a pastry. I can provide one of those immediately and the other after the ceremony. A true provider. I brushed my thumb over her knuckles. I'm proud of you. Her eyes flicked up, vulnerable now that the fight was over. That matters more than I want it to. Good. Good? I like mattering to you. She stepped closer, the blue silk of her dress brushing my suit. You do. The words were simple. No audience, no fake engagement requirement. My hand rose to her waist. Claire. I know, she whispered. Wedding, makeup, timing. Also, if I kiss you right now, I may ruin whatever professional magic they did to your lipstick. Her gaze dropped to my mouth. Risk assessment? Severe. Worth it? Catastrophically. She smiled and I kissed her anyway. Soft at first because she had just faced a ghost and won. Then not so soft because she made a small sound against my mouth and caught my lapels like she had no intention of letting me be noble. When we broke apart, her lipstick was fine. I was not. She touched my tie, breathless. You look smug. I'm relieved. There's overlap. Come on, temporary fiancé. We have a wedding to survive. The ceremony was held on the lawn facing the ocean. White chairs, pink flowers, a string quartet doing its best against the wind. Claire walked down the aisle before the bride, bouquet in hand, eyes forward. Except once. Once she found me in the second row. And smiled. Not the performance smile. Not the family management smile. Mine. I felt it like a hand pressed flat to my chest. During the vows, I tried to focus on the actual couple getting married. I really did. But the groom promised to choose the bride on ordinary days, not just easy ones, and all I could think was, yes, that, her. Claire caught me watching her afterward during cocktail hour. You're staring, she said. I'm admiring. At least upgrade the vocabulary. You look beautiful. You used that one already. It keeps being true. She rolled her eyes, but pleasure warmed her face. The reception was inside the ballroom, under chandeliers and garlands of white flowers. Dinner blurred into speeches. Uncle Rob compared marriage to a full-bodied Merlot with tax implications. Claire almost choked laughing. Then Vivian stood. Oh no, Claire whispered. Vivian tapped her glass. Before dancing begins, I just want to say how full my heart is tonight. My niece is married, my family is together, and my Claire has finally found someone who looks at her the way she deserves. Claire froze beside me. Vivian turned her damp-eyed smile on us. Marcus, welcome back to this family in the most unexpected and wonderful way. Applause rose around us. Claire's face had gone pale. I leaned toward her. Breathe. I'm going to hell. Probably a well-designed corner of it. She laughed once, panicked and tiny. Vivian lifted her glass. To love finding its way. Everyone toasted, including Lauren, whose expression suggested she had swallowed a lemon whole. Claire set her champagne down, untouched. Marcus, I can't. I followed her out of the ballroom before anyone could stop us. She didn't stop until we reached the quiet corridor near the garden suite. Then she turned on me, eyes shining. This is out of control. Yes? My mother is making speeches. My grandmother asked if we want a June or September wedding. Aunt Marcy showed me centerpiece options. Marcy moves fast. Don't joke. I shut my mouth. Claire pressed her hands over her face. I kissed you twice. I held your hand in front of everyone. I let my mother believe something huge because I was too embarrassed to admit I lied. And now the worst part is, she dropped her hands. The worst part is, I don't want all of it to be fake. My heart kicked hard. Claire, I know that's messy. I know I'm your ex's sister. I know this started as a favor and there are rose petals and one bed and emotional whiplash. I crossed the space between us, not to silence her, to take her face in my hands. I don't want it fake either. She stared at me. I should have told you before this weekend, I said. Maybe I was a coward. Maybe I told myself being your friend was better than risking you. But I want the real version. Dates where no one is lying, holding your hand because I can. Waking up with you because we chose it, not because your mother has aggressive booking habits. A tear slipped down her cheek. I caught it with my thumb. What about Sunday? She asked. Sunday we tell them the engagement isn't real. Her face tightened. But this is, I said. She searched my face like she was checking for exits. I gave her none, only the truth. I'm choosing you, Claire, not the act, not the rescue. You. She kissed me then, hard and unguarded, backing me into the wall with both hands in my jacket. I laughed against her mouth in sheer disbelief, and she smiled into the kiss like she felt it too. The terrifying relief of finally stepping off the ledge and finding ground. When she pulled back, her forehead rested against mine. Real dates, she whispered, as many as you'll give me. And no fake proposal stories. I'm keeping the cherrywood box idea. Marcus. What? For later, much later, hypothetically. She laughed, wiping at her cheek. You are dangerously sincere. I've been called worse. We stood there a while, tucked away from the music, holding each other like the corridor was the only honest place in the hotel. Then the elevator dinged. Lauren stepped out. She saw Claire in my arms, saw Claire's tear-streaked smile, saw my hands at her waist. Lauren's expression cooled into something sharp and satisfied. Well, she said, that looked real. Claire straightened, but she didn't step away from me. Lauren tilted her head, which is interesting because Evan just told me he's fairly sure the engagement isn't. Lauren's words hung in the corridor like a dropped glass. Claire's hand found mine, not behind her back, not hidden, right there, where Lauren could see. That's between me and Mom, Claire said. Lauren arched one perfect eyebrow. So it's true. The engagement? Claire took a breath. No, it isn't. Lauren's smile flickered with triumph. But Marcus and I are, Claire said. The triumph vanished. I looked at Claire. She looked back at me, nervous but steady, and I had the insane urge to applaud. Lauren crossed her arms. That's convenient. No, I said. Convenient would have been not falling for the one woman guaranteed to make every Whitman holiday complicated. Claire's mouth twitched. Lauren stared at me for a second. Something strange passed over her face. Not anger exactly. Maybe surprised that the old version of me, the one who used to chase her approval, was gone. You're both going to embarrass Mom, she said. Claire's fingers tightened around mine, then relaxed. I know, and I hate that. But I'm done making bigger messes to avoid smaller truths. For once, Lauren had no immediate answer. Claire lifted her chin. We're going back in. I'm telling her tonight. During the reception? Lauren asked. No, privately. Because contrary to popular belief, I don't enjoy public disasters. I squeezed her hand. Could have fooled me. You staged an excellent one this weekend. She shot me a look. Temporary fiancé privileges are under review. Real boyfriend privileges? Her eyes softened. Pending. Lauren made a small sound and walked past us toward her room. Claire watched her go, then exhaled. I'm going to throw up. On Lauren? Don't tempt me. I turned her gently toward me. You don't have to do it alone. I know. She swallowed. That's the part I'm trying to get used to. We found Vivian in a small sitting room off the ballroom, arranging emergency safety pins like she was commanding troops. Claire asked for a minute. Vivian took one look at her daughter's face, then at our joined hands, and slowly sat down. Oh, sweetheart, she said. What happened? Claire's voice shook at first, then steadied. She told her about the text months ago, the ring emoji, Evan, the panic, me, the fake engagement, all of it. Vivian went very still. I expected tears, maybe disappointment sharpened into a lecture. Instead, she looked at Claire and said, You thought you had to invent happiness so I'd stop worrying? Claire's eyes filled. Yes. Vivian's face crumpled. Oh, Claire. In the next second, mother and daughter were holding each other, both crying quietly into wedding silk and expensive perfume. I stepped back to give them space, but Claire reached blindly for me. I took her hand. Vivian noticed. Her gaze moved between us. So the engagement is fake, she said carefully. Yes, Claire whispered. But this? Claire looked at me. I didn't answer for her. Her fingers threaded through mine. This is new and real and probably terrifying. Vivian dabbed under her eyes. Well, most worthwhile things are. Claire blinked. You're not mad? I'm a little mad, Vivian admitted. Mostly at myself and at Evan, on principle. I support that, I said. Vivian gave a watery laugh. Then she pointed a tissue at me. Marcus Ellis, are you going to be kind to my daughter? Yes. No hesitation. Good. Her eyes narrowed. And no proposing for at least a year. I cannot return these centerpiece samples twice. Claire groaned. Mom. What? I'm wounded, not dead. The truth did not destroy the wedding. It did create ripples. Aunt Marcy looked scandalized for exactly 6 minutes before switching to excitement over a fresh romance. Claire's grandmother patted my cheek and said, Engaged or not, you have honest eyes and strong shoulders. That'll do. Evan avoided us. Lauren watched us from across the ballroom with unreadable eyes, then eventually raised her glass in a small, reluctant toast. Claire raised hers back. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something less heavy than war. Later, when the music slowed and the bride and groom were too happy to notice anyone else's chaos, I held out my hand to Claire. No audience requirements, I said. No family strategy, just me asking. She looked at my hand, then at my face. You're asking me to dance? I'm asking you to start over. Her breath caught. Then she placed her hand in mine. Then yes. We danced in the middle of the ballroom this time, not hidden on a terrace, not pretending by the railing. Her cheek rested against my chest and my hand spread warm at her back. I'm sorry I dragged you into this, she murmured. I'm not. You had to share a bed with rose petals. A hardship. You faced my mother. I survived. You saw Lauren. I saw you. She lifted her head. The room blurred again, just like it had on the terrace. But this time, I didn't have to wonder what was real. I love you, I said. Claire went perfectly still. Then her eyes shone and her smile trembled into something brave. I love you too, she whispered, which is wildly inconvenient. I've built custom shelving in houses with crooked floors. I can handle inconvenient. She laughed and I kissed her right there under the chandeliers, in front of her family, my ex, her ex, and Uncle Rob, who loudly declared the moment romantically tannic. By Sunday morning, the garden suite no longer felt like a trap. The pillow stayed on the floor. Nothing happened that we weren't ready for. We just slept tangled together, Claire's head on my shoulder, my arm around her waist, both of us exhausted from honesty. When sunlight came through the curtains, she looked at me sleepily and said, So, real breakfast? Real breakfast. Real coffee? Obviously. Real dating? I kissed her forehead. As real as cherrywood. She smiled against my chest. That metaphor is growing on me. 6 months later, there was a cherrywood box on Claire's desk. Not a ring box, not yet. It held paper clips, spare keys, and the fortune from our first official date. Good things arrived disguised as trouble. She had rolled her eyes when I gave it to her, then cried for 3 minutes and accused me of emotional sabotage. By the following spring, we had built a life that looked ordinary from the outside and miraculous from where I stood. Sunday mornings at the farmer's market, her sketchbooks on my kitchen table, my sawdust on her black jeans, family dinners where Vivian still occasionally introduced me as not the fake fiancé anymore. And Claire would squeeze my knee under the table like our oldest private joke. Lauren and I became civil. Evan became irrelevant. Aunt Marcy remained legally concerning. And one rainy night, almost a year after that wedding weekend, Claire stood barefoot in my kitchen again, wearing my old college sweatshirt, holding coffee like evidence. Only this time, she was smiling. "You know," she said, "this is where the crime began." I set down the piece of cherry wood I'd been sanding. Light fraud, minimal sentencing. She crossed the room and slipped her arms around my waist. Worth it? I looked at her, at the woman who had asked me to pretend, then dared me to be honest. I kissed her slowly with rain tapping the windows and sawdust on my hands and her laughter waiting against my mouth. Worth everything, I said, and she believed me. What would you have done if your ex's sister asked you to be her fake fiancé for a wedding weekend and her mom booked you a room with one bed? Have you ever experienced anything even close to that kind of complicated romantic situation? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.